Hello, and welcome to Friday Night Insights, the show where we have clear eyes to help you set your fantasy football lineup, full hearts with the intent of helping you to victory, and hopefully your team cannot lose. Of course, as always, I am joined by Donald McJordan, Jordan McDonald. How's it going today, sir?
My day was going pretty good until I got the news that Nick Chubb's out. That really
Mm,
ruined my day because that pretty much I pretty much lost my one league because of that. And I'm not exaggerating. I had Jalen Hurts, so I mean we're looking good so far. But it was a league that I had two mainstays at running back with Nick Chubb and Montgomery, and then a whole bunch of nothing on my bench. So yeah, and I also have Terry McLaurin in that league, so it's not looking pretty. Oh, and TJ Hawkinson. So
well,
and
your life sucks.
yeah, that team. I saw that team's in the crapper, and also I had Bucks 6.5 last night, and that didn't work out. So that's how my day's going.
Well, hopefully our other co-host is doing a little bit better. At that FF nerd, Jason Draven. How's it going, sir?
It's been a busy day because it seems like everybody's getting hurt. So I've got a lot of questions to deal with, and I'm hoping to help everybody tonight with any questions they have. So I'm ready, and I'm super excited to get this through this weekend because knowing that people are already out is a huge benefit. Last weekend I was just drowning in questions because of the fact that Sunday morning they decided to say, "Oh hey, Cook's officially out. Don't worry about it. CMC's out. Don't worry about it," and just blew up my timeline for a good 2 hours, and I was behind. So
Well, and then you get the 3:30 notice that Chris Carson's not playing, and it's just like, why you got to do stuff like that, NFL? Like, why you got to do us dirty? Just these guys aren't playing. Tell us. Just let us in. Let us see the information that you have, NFL. And on that note, we'll go to the Buccaneers versus the Philadelphia Eagles, 28-22 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. MVP at 44 years old. Is that what we're looking at here? Because Tom Brady is on pace to shatter the NFL record held by Peyton Manning, about 5,400 passing yards. Brady's on pace to throw for 6,000 yards. Tonight, he throws for 297, 2 touchdowns, does have an interception, but that's okay. One of those touchdowns goes to Antonio Brown, leads the way, catching 9 of his 13 targets, and the touchdown as well, 93 yards. Other touchdown goes to O.J. Howard, of all people, 6 grabs for 49 yards and a score. I wish that counted for my 2019 best balls. That would have been great, but it doesn't help anyone. And so popular streamer tight end Cameron Brate disappoints, 3 receptions for 26 yards. However, the real disappointments here were Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Godwin catches 5 balls, 43 scoreless yards, and Mike Evans, 2 receptions, 27 scoreless yards. Gronk should be back next week too. And so going forward, is this Antonio Brown up here and then everyone else trying to fight for that number 2, fighting for that touchdown?
I mean, I think it's definitely AB at the top. We're looking at his fantasy points right now, and it's 19.1 per game compared to Mike Evans at 16.2. So almost 3 full points ahead of him, and Chris Godwin at 15.2 fantasy points per game. This is just crazy to me, the fact that Antonio Brown comes in and just asserts himself after struggling through a huge mess last year and coming on towards the end, that he's really just taken over this whole wide receiver core especially without Gronk there. It's super impressive to me. The dude still looks just so talented.
And finally, for the Buccaneers, the MVP, Lombardi Len, has taken his talents to Thursday Night Football. 22 carries, 6 receptions, 127 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He is the bell cow there. You can't sit him going forward. Ronald Jones, irrelevant. Doesn't matter. Touches the ball 6 times. Surprisingly has a catch, 29 yards. Giovanni Bernard, 2 targets, catches both for 4 yards. Like, this is Leonard Fournette's backfield.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on the Buccaneers other than Lombardi Len is carrying you to a championship like he did for the Buccaneers?
I want to say that I would love to do a victory lap about Lombardi Len, but all of us at Important Nonsense called this. Like, I mean, I can't really take a. I can't say that I thought this alone, because we all knew it was going to be Leonard Fournette, and I specified that COVID last year threw everyone for a loop, threw Tom Brady for a loop. He said that it took him a while to get used to the playbook, and then Leonard Fournette, who came in like week 1 and then had all those issues. He was benched a couple times and looked fantastic down the stretch, and I'm like, why don't people think this is gonna continue? And that's why I couldn't believe he was ranked so low. I have him in so many leagues because people just slept on him. And I love people that don't play a lot of fantasy football. They just like adhere to like whatever their fantasy formats rankings are. So obviously he was ranked lower, and people don't really focus on that. So let's pat each other on the back for this one. Like Lombardi Len, league winner.
Yeah, the only issue that we really had coming in is we weren't sure what Giovanni Bernard's role was going to be.
Yeah.
That was the only knock to Leonard Fournette having any issues, is the fact that Gio was coming in and they paid the man, and it was going to be his role in the James White role, and it was so confusing there.
Oh, you know what?
100%.
He jumped the gun, because I was gonna touch on that after we were done the Eagles segment. But yes, do you want to start off with the Fire Nick Sirianni chance?
We can start.
I want to ask you, Jack. Does Nick Sirianni join Urban Meyer and Cliff Kingsbury? Well, maybe not even Cliff Kingsbury anymore. 5-0 as the frauds of the NFL.
He's not quite there yet, because the Eagles are pretty talent depleted.
Well, I mean, what are you doing with the run game? I'm not a big we got to establish run, because we all know that is a farce. You don't establish a run, but you got to use Miles Sanders. He looked really good, and they didn't use him. Well, he looked good enough. Jalen Hurts. I love the Jalen Hurts rush attempts. I mean, as Jalen Hurts, somebody who rosters them in more leagues than they should, I love them, but you're gonna get him hurt if you don't really divvy up the runs. And let's not even get started on Kenny Gainwell.
Everyone always says that you're gonna get hurt if the QB runs too much, but it's never the running quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson getting hurt. Jalen Hurts has stayed healthy. It's always the Carson Wentz types when they're scrambling.
Oh, okay. Okay. I mean, you could have said Dak Prescott, and your point would have been proven, but you had to go there.
I did have to go there. And so, indeed, fire Nick Sirianni. But Jalen Hurts, only quarterback that has scored over 20 fantasy points each and every week, and even just 26 attempts and completing just 115 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That's bad in real life. That's not a good game. An atrocious 40.2 passer rating. But he runs the ball 10 times for 44 yards. He scores 2 rushing touchdowns. And if only there was a website telling you that your quarterback needs to have rushing upside all offseason. If only there was a website telling you, take these Konami code quarterbacks. If only. Big shots fired by me at Jordan. Any thoughts on Jalen Hurts?
Of course. I mean, I just really hope that he figures out how to throw the ball, because I have him at quarterback 3 for the year. I know I was way high, but his rushing talent is there. And if he can actually start completing passes and get that up to a 60, 70% completion rating, I am pumped for it.
Gotta love a running back that gained 63% of his yards on 2 plays. Hashtag bench Miles. Hashtag justice for Kenny, from our good friend and boss, Steve Bonham. And so obviously all the wide receivers have a bad day, because that's not a good performance. 115 yards. No one can really capitalize on that. So Quez Watkins, he catches 3 balls, 44 yards. That's nothing. Devontae Smith, 2 for 41. That's even less of nothing. And Miles Sanders, 9 carries, 2 grabs, 66 scoreless yards. Meanwhile, Gainwell, 0 carries, 2 targets, catches 1, gains a yard. None of these guys matter at all.
Yeah, it's super frustrating, because, God, I really wanted Gainwell to have that. And the fact that this coaching staff doesn't realize that is a weakness of the Buccaneers to pass catching running backs. I don't understand how you can't see that every week. But again, I'm still really holding out that Smith will be the guy for Hurts. It's going to be a good connection. And even more importantly, I mean, he just has so many decent weapons with Smith being there, Goddard being there. And we're going to talk about something else here sooner, but it's just one of those things that you're really looking forward to. And if he can develop and, like I said, just complete passes, I'm going to be completely happy with him as a quarterback moving forward.
Well, and so that brings us to our next player, because outside of Jalen Hurts, the only other Eagle that matters, no longer with the team. Dallas Goedert was out on the COVID-19 list. He should be back this week or next week, in 10 days. Zach Ertz is the one that catches the touchdown. He ends up catching 4 passes, only 29 yards, but with the touchdown, it's a pretty good week. And now he's headed to Arizona in exchange for a 5th-round pick and the 6th-round pick from this year, Tay Gowan, the cornerback. And no, before you ask, he cannot play on Sunday. The NFL rulebook has accounted for this language. One player can play 1 game per week.
Yeah, and, one might say he's trying to change his feathers and find his own flock.
Oh.
No?
Oh. You know what? I'll one up Jason and say that the Eagles, it might be sunny in Philadelphia, but according to seeing what happened last night, it's never runny in Philadelphia.
Oh my goodness. You know what? Joe Burrow had a voice rest all week after spending Sunday night in a hospital being checked for a throat contusion. Maybe you guys should be put on a voice rest as well. Joe Burrow, though, he's good to go on Sunday, as is Lamar Jackson, who missed some time with illness. But we all know that Lamar has some tummy issues, and that's okay. Doesn't matter for Sunday. He's good to go and will be. I honestly think that this matchup decides who the favorite for MVP is. Whoever wins, Lamar Jackson or Justin Herbert, that's such a big W. People are going to be talking about it. ESPN is going to be hyping it up. It's going to be big.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be, especially what happened last week. And you know what? Lamar Jackson, he definitely played with tummy issues on Monday night's game because he totally crapped all over the Colts. So.
Well, Wentz looked good, though. Does that make you feel a little better? He looked healthy.
Who did?
Yeah.
Wentz?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like,
he's fine.
I'm not starting. You know what? We're only like 14 minutes in. I'm not starting my Colts right now.
We still got plenty of time.
Yeah, we're on quarterbacks, man.
So, in addition to Burrow and Lamar being good to go, Daniel Jones has also been cleared from concussion protocol by an independent neurologist, not involved in the NFL, so they're not forcing him back. And so he'll be without Saquon Barkley, who we'll talk about later. Kenny Golladay ruled out week 6 with a knee injury. Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard will return, though. And Kadarius Toney, after his breakout game where he later broke his hand on someone's face and got kicked out of the game. He didn't actually break his hand. He just punched a guy in the face and got ejected. Anyways, he's questionable with an ankle and expected to play. And Steve has some big disagreements. The MVP favorite plays in the desert, except the problem with Kyler Murray. He's dealing with a shoulder injury right now. He's limited in practice all week, leading to a questionable tag. And I'm not too worried, but if you remember last year, Murray was the QB1 until a shoulder injury slowed him down. We worried about this at all? We worried about Daniel Jones with his lack of weapons or his newly healthy weapons, I suppose?
Yeah, it's going to be confusing to see either of these. I mean, you can't sit Murray if he plays. It's just the fact that he is always a little toddler running with candy is the only thing I can picture when he's running with a football because he holds it like a candy bar and just goes off. But it's just one of those things that he has that rushing ability, and even if he can't throw, he can still run, which is a huge plus. And Daniel Jones I'm more concerned about just because I do think he looks significantly better with Barkley on the field. And the fact that Galladay's out, there's just a lot of things that makes me nervous for that team. But other two, I'm okay playing Murray.
Yeah, I agree with that. If Murray's active, you play him. Daniel Jones, I would hesitate playing a tough defense in the Rams. I know he's got Slayton, he's got Shepard back, but
Yeah,
It'll be tough.
I'm not saying you should sit Kyler Murray. I'm just saying
No, I know.
maybe we temper the MVP expectations with the shoulder injury, and maybe we temper expectations for Tua Tagovailoa. He's prepping to play on Sunday. Sounds like he's going to be good to go as long as there's no setbacks tomorrow or on Sunday. Coming off the IR from the rib injury, but maybe let's not be too excited about this Dolphins offense just yet. Same with the Bears. Justin Fields, he's limited with hyperextended knee, fully expected to play. So Tua and Justin Fields both return. Either of them get your juices flowing?
I mean, if you're really looking, I could probably play Tua just because I think that game, granted, it's so tough. I mean, I really wish that I trusted Tua more, but they are just so conservative. I think that with Parker out, we're going to see him throw a lot more to Gaskin, hopefully. We're hoping here.
We can dream of more Myles Gaskin. And unfortunately, we will have to keep dreaming of Christian McCaffrey returning to the field. Means fire Chuba Hubbard up. I saw a tweet today, though, saying Christian McCaffrey going to see his workload cut when he gets back. Because some throwaway quote from the left tackle of the team. Like that's not how that works, okay? I don't care what the left tackle thinks about how many snaps CMC will play when he gets back. Maybe they do temper him. I'm not going to expect it, though, and there's no reason for me to expect it. So when CMC comes back, expect him to be a workhorse. And in the meantime, expect Chuba Hubbard to be a workhorse.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just one of those things that you struggle to see every week that CMC's out. It makes me worried for Darnold because I really thought that with CMC, he would have that ability to really open up the offense. He has all the right weapons there. And since you've seen him without him, you've seen the step back, and it's a little frustrating that somebody who has so much talent can't seem to stay on the field. And so I'm a little nervous for Darnold moving forward until CMC's back, but once he is, I think he's full go again.
So you think there might be some worries and a setback for Sam Darnold. Steve thinks the biggest setback with the Dolphins is Brian Flores. Ooh, shots fired at the Miami Dolphins.
Well, Gesicki's also going to take a step back, so does that count?
Mm-hmm.
Now that Brissett's gone, his target share is dropping again.
More than likely. Hopefully just Jalen Waddle just gets pumped full of targets. Anyway, Saquon Barkley out with that ankle sprain. Dr. Edwin Porras at FB Injury Doc told us on Wednesday's edition of the Important Nonsense podcast, he doesn't expect Saquon to miss 3 weeks. He says 2 weeks max.
Yeah, and I think that's fine to believe that because everybody thinks he's so superhuman, but I'm really hoping that he gets that extra week.
Just to stay healthy? You don't want to play Saquon Barkley?
It's just the injury. I mean, that injury is something that you really – I've had weak ankles forever. I've broken it multiple times, sprained it multiple times, and it's one of those things that if you can have 2 weeks of rest and then you ease back into it, you have to do so much band work and so much other little things to really strengthen it that it's tough to want to do it in 2 weeks and expect him to be the guy that you're wanting to put the bulk of the work on.
Oh, so you don't want to play Saquon Barkley in 2 weeks. You just don't trust Saquon Barkley anymore.
Oh no, I absolutely trust him. I just don't trust that injury. That injury is not something you want.
Okay, well, Saquon Barkley, we'll figure out what happens with him. We'll keep you updated as the weeks commence. Are we confident in Zach Ertz being rejuvenated in Arizona? I'm going to start this one. I'm going to say no. I don't expect him to look better in terms of his athleticism because he is what he is at this point. However, in terms of fantasy, in terms of PPR, Max Williams was productive for a stretch of time. Zach
blocking tight end.
Yeah, the blocking tight end that has never been good in his life. He was getting targets. Like Zach Ertz will rejuvenate his fantasy football career. He will be an asset to your fantasy football team, but don't expect him to be rejuvenated in that sense.
I don't know about that because there's so many mouths to feed on that offense. And before, if you look back before this season, the tight end on the Cardinals and the Cliff Kingsbury offense was barely targeted. And obviously Zach Ertz is better than any other tight end they've ever had. But again, besides Hopkins, like, you still got to compete with AJ Green and Rondale Moore and Christian Kirk and Chase Edmonds in a sense. So I think he'll have weeks where he can rejuvenate fantasy. Yeah, like I think that you got to temper expectations, like Jack said. I think there's weeks that he can definitely have, like, could be tight end one in a week, like not the tight end one, but be a tight end one.
I think he's a tight end one the rest of the way. I think I'm pretty much starting him going forward. Who else are you gonna play? Like, it's a wasteland at tight end.
I know. I just say, like, don't expect the moon. Like, don't think like what we think now Dallas Goedert's going to be in Philadelphia, what you think Zach Ertz is going to be in Arizona.
No.
Like, let's.
I'm expecting. We always say the 3 receptions for 30 yards. That's the classic tight end stat line. I'm expecting like a 4 or 5 for 30 because Zach Ertz doesn't make those explosive plays, but he gets more. Tight end is a wasteland, like Michael Grossman and I.
He's rosterable. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I would definitely try and pick him up this week but I would feel a little uncomfortable like putting him in out every week until I see it actually come to fruition. But that's just me. I'm sorry.
I really think that you're seeing 4 to 8 targets a week, and he's getting 30 to 50 yards and a touchdown. I think he's going to be a big red zone body. It's just one of those things. Outside of the fact that I love Rondale Moore, and the fact that they've been using him in the rushing attack has been awesome. It's just one of those things that having somebody that is more technical, knows when to stop, if he catches on in this offense, which I think is probably going to take a couple of weeks, he's going to be a huge asset for this team, especially moving down the stretch.
Yeah. So Jordan is saying Adam, but be patient. I'm saying top 12 fantasy tight end the rest of the way, which, again, that doesn't amount to a ton, but he's worth it. You can play, and Jason's kind of on my side, but also less excited than I am.
Yeah, it's just one of those players that when you have something that changes so drastically like this, it's going to take a little time to learn the offense. It's going to make sure he's still blocking. He's going to be a crucial part, but it's going to take some time, unfortunately. And so you can probably – I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see him dropped next week because he doesn't perform like everybody thought he would. And so you're able to scoop him up and hold on to him for the buys and everything else.
Yeah, let me just say that too, just to end off. Like, the people that had to, like, pick him up, like, if you're someone that had Goddard and needed to pick up Ertz just to have a replacement, like, you were just given a gift.
Yes.
Like, think of all the fab you just saved because of that move.
I wonder who could have said that. I've been pumping Ertz all week because I was like, he's getting a touchdown this week. With Goddard potentially out, it's going to work out great for him.
So that brings us to our next question from Connor Reed on YouTube. Would you prefer Tyler Higbee or Zach Ertz for the rest of the season?
Okay, this is going to go against everything I just said, but I think that we've seen enough of Higbee that we know what he is. I think that the ceiling that Ertz has now with the Cardinals, I would take him just because you just, like I said, like, Higbee it's a middling option at best, but I think Ertz, I don't think he'll reach the levels that Jack thinks he can, but he can. It's possible, and I think that that's enough to put him over Higbee.
Because it's not, and I repeat, not possible for Tyler Higbee.
No.
I wouldn't go that far, but yes, I do think Ertz is going to be better rest of season because of the fact that Woods has been open. Like, all of the plays that you saw him last week, he's been running all season and been wide open. So now that they're going to use him and Cup, I just don't see the targets being there for Higbee, with Henderson also being sprinkled in closer to the line of scrimmage.
No,
I just don't see it for Higbee.
Higbee is a 2 target per game type of tight end. You're hoping he gets 2 receptions, 7 yards, and a touchdown. I do not want to play Tyler Higbee. Zach Ertz at least has that upside. And our next question from Michael Grossman. WTH, and H I assume means heck because we are a family-friendly show on the Important Nonsense podcast. Do I do with Julio? And I think you ride it out. I think you probably play him this week if he's active.
I'm playing him this week for sure.
Oh, I'm not.
It depends on your other options, granted. Yeah. But I'm firing up Julio because when he was healthy before this, he was the wide receiver 1 over AJ Green.
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown.
Yeah.
I made that mistake when I was talking about I almost said AJ Brown instead of AJ
Well,
Green.
to be fair, AJ Brown or AJ. Now I mixed them up again. AJ Green and Julio will be forever linked because they went in the same draft. When remember, AJ Green drafted ahead of Julio Jones.
Yeah.
Weird times.
Well, I'm excited for him just because of the fact that I think Brown's going to get the main coverage this week. And with that in mind, I think Julio's going to be able to run all over him and be fine.
Yeah,
I do think it's a limited snap count, but still, I think he has that opportunity.
I think both are getting limited snap count. That's my first issue. And second, they're playing like the Buffalo pass defense, or I guess against fantasy wide receivers, best in the league. So I'm a little worried coming off the hamstring injury. Like Jack said, if you have nobody else to play, if you're desperate, then yes, you have to play him. But I would try and play somebody else. Like I'm playing Cortland Sutton over him, and I know.
Oh yeah, well Cortland.
I know.
Sutton.
I'm just saying.
Look at me! I have all of these riches and I get to bench Julio for Cortland Sutton. Yeah, we're talking about.
That's my 10-team league. So okay, that's the 10-team home league.
We're talking about people who are missing like Debo and Davis, and those kind of people right now are going to say, "Oh, thank you, Julio's here."
Yes, like if you're in a pickle like that.
So our next question comes from Alfred21711 from Twitch. Thank you for joining us, Alfred. Thoughts on Collins? And if it's Tom Collins, it's a great drink. If it's Alex Collins, then I think he's a back-end RB2. But that, with all these fantasy injuries that we've had, all these running back injuries, a back-end RB2 becomes a front-end RB2 real quick lately.
Yeah, and I'm just the thing that's really going to prevent him from having that step is if he's not used in the passing game. He has to get those touches for him to be that RB2. I mean, that's just how it is going to be, unfortunately. We saw last week how well it didn't end up because I thought he was going to get passing work and he didn't. So the frustration is definitely there, but you kind of have to hope that he should be the guy that they're firing up for sure as the one. But you still have Homer and DJ Dallas there, who are both also viable options.
Who would you rather roster then, Dallas or Homer?
Of those two, it's Dallas, because he was the one who I think is more talented based on what I've seen so far. But he also has injury history. So, again, something else you have to pay attention to, because this team is one of those that like to really run people into the ground.
Let me just I'm just looking at the snap counts now. So last week it was 46, or I guess I'd say 71% of the snaps went to Collins, 22% to DJ Dallas, 12% to Homer. But in every game before that, Travis Homer dominated the snaps over DJ Dallas. Now, of course, it wasn't a lot. Like the most Homer had in a game before that was 30%. So I think DJ Dallas might do more of what Carson did, and that's probably why they played him a little bit more. So if Carson's out, I'd probably go DJ Dallas.
Well, then our next question on the Seattle Seahawks backfield from important_research on Twitch. What about Rashad Penny? Comes off IR next week, I think, and I am looking that up right now on NBC Sports Edge because they're usually pretty good.
He hasn't played a game. I guess maybe he played at the end of last season.
Yeah, it was very, very little.
Very limited.
But I'm again.
I wouldn't.
Because coming off IR, limited. He's going to be worked in if he's. I mean, and you're still waiting on Carson to come back, which is on IR clearly. But again, is it a long-term IR? Is it a short-term IR? Who actually knows at this point?
Yeah. I didn't realize this looking at the snaps. Rashad Penny did actually play in week 1. 7
I was
snaps.
Say, I'm pretty sure he played in week 1, but I wasn't going to say
in week 1.
Didn't want to make you feel bad.
Yeah, I am completely out on Rashad Penny. I think he's at the bottom of the depth chart, maybe ahead of Travis Homer, but I would rather roster DJ Dallas instead of Travis Homer. So, Steve, at this point, it's Kelsey, Waller, Andrews, Hawkinson, and Knox at tight end. The next 15, put them in a hat and draw out a name. And I completely agree with that. That's why Zach Ertz is in there. And I'll say it, Tyler Higbee is not in that top 15.
And you know who else is not in that top 15? Well, actually, he probably is. Robert Tonyan.
Okay.
He has disappeared. He has fallen off a cliff.
Absolutely.
I called that. I said, beware, don't fall. There's always one tight end that has a monster season and just falls off a cliff. and I said this year is going to be Robert Tonyan, and so far I'm right. And as I say that, Jason, he's going to have 3 touchdowns against the Bears. You know it's gonna happen.
Absolutely. But we're missing out on Kittle and Pitts here. What is he
Kittle's
doing?
on IR. He
I understand that, but still, it's just rude.
And Steve would also like to point out DJ Dallas is the pass catching back. So snap count went up with Carson out because he got the 3rd down work. Question from Joey on YouTube. Need 2 wide receivers. He has Robert Woods, Cortland Sutton, Chase Claypool, Marvin Jones, and Laviska Shenault. Has Hubbard at flex and can also move that. What are you guys thinking to start this?
Well, let me just say the last 2 guys. I know Xavier Howard's out for Miami, but I probably would. You those 3 guys are so much better than the. Don't rely on a Jacksonville receiver. Claypool, little banged up, but he's playing in very soft secondary in Seattle. We were just talking about.
Claypool has actually been removed from the injury report.
Yeah, it's been removed from the injury report. I'd still probably go Woods and Sutton though.
And yes, you're starting Hubbard for sure. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I like Hubbard just because of the fact that he's going to be used. I mean, you've seen his usage been pretty solid, and his matchup this week is pretty soft. So it's going to be Woods and Sutton. If he is, I wasn't sure if he was saying that you could have 2 wide receivers or the flex, because that was kind of confusing. But if that's the case, it's definitely Woods, Sutton, and Hubbard.
Yeah, I think the question is Hubbard is starting at the flex and just has the option to bench him for one of these receivers. Do not do that. Start Chuba Hubbard because he's a bell cow the rest of the way. Robert Woods and Cortland Sutton is probably the move for this week.
Shout out to Joey for rostering 2 Canadians. We love that.
Yeah, no kidding. Good job, Joey. So yeah, that's the move. We're going with Robert Woods, Cortland Sutton, and Chuba Hubbard. For Timothy Nang, start a wide receiver and a flex. Tony, Odell Beckham Jr., Jones Jr., Marvin Jones Jr., Devontae Booker, Zach Moss, and Alex Collins.
Oy.
Oh, well, I think flex, you might have to go Devontae Booker.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. And
that's what I would say right
now. It's clearly your wide receiver, just because I can't trust any of the other ones.
Oh, I don't know what happened to Odell. Like, I mean, I had such low hopes for Odell, but even he's like...
Well, Landry's back, though. That might help him. Maybe. That's the issue I'm having, is I don't know. I don't know who to trust. Because he does seem to play better with Landry there, but it's usually because he's catching passes from him.
So I think you start Tony over OBJ because I want in my heart of hearts for OBJ to be a thing. I drafted so much OBJ in best ball. Baker hates him. It's so frustrating. So I'm going with Tony here. And then I think you go with Devontae Booker, even though the Rams aren't as good as people make.
Are you not worried? So this is me. I'd hate playing players on the same team unless if it's a quarterback wide receiver. But Booker and Tony in the same lineup against the Rams does worry me.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
And also, I'm a little worried that Slayton and Shepard are back, so it's less targets for Tony. I think Tony is a recipient of just no other competition.
Yeah, which I agree, except for I think that the fact that Shepard and Shepard's probably going to end up with Ramsey on him because he knows that he's the clear target, which makes it between Slayton and Tony, who are both kind of at the same average depth of target. So I'm curious to see how that works out, but I think of the two, Tony has more.
Yeah, he is the best out of those 3. Like
Marvin Jones.
We were so high on Marvin Jones the first 2 weeks, and then I don't know what happened with that. OBJ, you can't trust OBJ. You just can't, and I don't think it will help with Landry's back. So yeah, Tony's probably the best wide receiver of that bunch.
Okay, so we're starting Tony. What if we start Zach Moss against a terrible Tennessee defense instead?
I mean, it's a safer play, but again, you're really hoping for a touchdown, which you probably get. Let's be honest there. And a decent amount of rushing yards. I mean, it's probably okay. It's just, again,
I'd prefer...
It's a PPR portion that if it's a PPR, you want Booker. If it's a standard, I'm okay playing Moss.
Go ahead, Jack. Sorry.
I'd prefer Tony and Booker too. But if you're afraid of the Giants versus the Rams, you pivot off Booker instead of pivoting off Tony.
I was going to say I was going to pivot off Tony. I would go Booker and OBJ. And I don't like it, but that's what I would probably do.
Well, let's hope that Kadarius Toney isn't
no.
versus Ramsey. Non-zero chance he's ejected for a fight early on. So back to the question: have we come to a consensus?
I've said mine. I if I have to, I'll probably play OBJ and Booker, because Booker's the one that I am playing out of all 6 of those. Is the must start for me because that's his backfield. Moss is still splitting carries with Singletary. Collins, we don't know what that's going to look like. And yeah, the wide receivers are pretty thin, but maybe OBJ, maybe he finds some success against the Cardinals.
And so next question here, Ricky Seals-Jones or Jared Cook at tight end this week?
And every Jared Cook question is directed to Jason.
Yep, and it's going to be RSJ this week because I love that kid so much. The fact that Terry McLaurin is dealing with an injury and the fact that he has slotted in so quickly for Thomas and was the number 2 in targets last week on the team, getting 8, which is pretty incredible for him. I am pumped to see him go against this horrible Kansas City Chiefs defense. Like, they don't know what they're doing at this point, and so Ricky Seals-Jones is a set and forget it. Let's go.
All right, Ryan versus Robots is in with you on the RSJ hype. Ryan tuning in from Twitch. So yeah, I think Jason kind of summed up the tight end for us. He's the go-to when it comes to these tight end streams. Unless you're arguing, Jordan.
No, I agree with that. I think Ricky Seals-Jones is what Logan Thomas was last year.
Well, and now Parham is getting more and more used. Thankfully, let's go.
Ryan versus Robots has been bugging you about RSJ all week.
And I love it. I mean, so I'm all here for it. I'm a big RSJ guy this week just because of the fact with everybody else hurt, you have to play him, and he's a great matchup.
And so our next question from Steven Johnson. Hey, guys, Hubbard or Herbert from Chicago? That's Khalil Herbert, the de facto starting running back for the Chicago Bears.
Ooh,
so I'm going to put a stipulation in because of the fact that you still aren't sure that Damien's officially.
Nope. He got ruled out today.
So he did it. He had a positive test today as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So because if it's PPR, I'm going Hubbard. If it's standard, I'll go Herbert. So any type of PPR, I'm going Hubbard.
I think who do the Panthers play again this week?
They play the Vikings, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, they do. I'm going Hubbard either way. It's Hubbard.
Yeah, I'd probably go Hubbard too, just because Herbert had 18.
Canada.
Well,
Canada. Continue, Jordan.
No, I'm gonna go Hubbard too. He's been the starter for the last 3 weeks. Herbert, this is his first game as the starter. We don't know if he'll replicate that success. And we're gonna get into it. Green Bay is banged up in the secondary. I can see them throwing a lot more. They might have to, competing with Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, I go Hubbard.
So our next question comes from Alfred21711 over on Twitch. Scary Terry McLaurin, or Robert Woods for the rest of the season in PPR?
I'll start off. I am going to say at this moment, Robert Woods, because Terry McLaurin is dealing with injury right now. And if you look at the Rams' schedule, the next several games, it is very juicy. Very juicy.
My only hesitancy is the fact that they haven't used him. So if they continue to use him as he should be used, like seeing the amount of targets and everything else, because he is normally open, I'm okay with that. But I am going to take the volume of McLaurin moving forward, just because it's that the defense has somehow disappeared, and I think that you're going to laugh at me, but I think there's actually a curse surrounding Ryan Fitzpatrick, because when he starts somewhere and then it suddenly disappears, his defense falls off of a cliff. Whatever team he was on, it's mind blowing to see, because last year with Miami, it did the same thing. They were so good while he was in, and then they switched to Tua, and it dropped.
But Tua had a 7-3 record as a starter though, and that wasn't all Tua
as a starter.
He was starting.
Fitzpatrick was the one saving him. Yeah,
well, not every game. It wasn't every game.
It was pretty much every game. Let's be honest.
So deciding factor here.
Go for it. Let's hear it, Jack.
I'm going with Terry McLaurin because I can trust the target share, and that's really all there is to it. Yes, I am worried about Terry McLaurin this weekend with the hamstring that came up today, but it's happened in years past. Last year, he had a hamstring pop up on a Friday. Once he didn't play through it, the other time he did play through it. So I think it's just a thing I've become accustomed to with McLaurin. So I'm not worried. Even if he does miss this, I'm not worried about Terry McLaurin. And I'm going to take those guaranteed targets because Woods is somewhere between his 2 targets and 12 targets that he's had. And I don't know where in that range he is. So I will take the locked in targets. Next question from Anthony D2330 on Twitch. So I started Geo last night. Thumbs down. I'm sorry to hear that. Need one now in my flex in a PPR. Adam Humphries, Alex Collins, I assume. Felton, Demetric Felton, Tyson Williams, Ramondre Stevenson, or Terrence Marshall Jr.
That screams 16-man league.
That
yeah, 100%.
I will right away say Alex Collins.
Yeah, I think he's the one who's going to get the most of the work.
Yeah.
He's going to be your safe play. I like Humphries just because of the fact that you could see if McLaurin's out. Yeah, if he's out, that's the stipulation for it. But otherwise, Collins is the one that is screaming play me.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty easy one here. Even with Nick Chubb out, Demetric Felton is more of the backup to Kareem Hunt as the pass catcher. So I don't think he's as involved as the bat. Like we could see Dearness Johnson get more carries this week because of that. That's something that we had mentioned.
It's like a direct stipulation. I think that Chubb is Johnson when they line them up as compared to Felton, who's more of a Hunt type of player.
And so really it's Alex Collins and then that's it. This does a scream 16-team league. I wish with all my heart that I could tell you to play Terrace Marshall Jr., but we just haven't seen it from him yet. Tyrod Taylor, is he worth a stash? I've got Heineke and Lance on my roster, 14-team, 1 QB league. Everyone is rostering 2 QBs. Then absolutely.
Yeah. Drop Lance.
Oh, no. Well, no, why would you drop Lance? His bye week's already done after this week.
And then he's back on the bench.
That is the bigger worry. He screams Konami code, man. Like,
oh yeah, he does. If only he was starting, which he's not. So Tyrod is.
If he does start, but the thing is, though, I think you should. Yes, I think Tyrod is good stash if those are your quarterbacks, but not at the expense of Lance.
Yeah, you can't drop. So you can't drop Heineke because he's your starting QB because Lance is on bye and might not be starting. But you cannot drop Trey Lance. We've seen what he can do when he gets the starting job. He is an elite fantasy option.
I think you're stretching there. He needs to learn. He needs to learn the offense better. He's going to be great this year.
Of course, he needs to improve a lot, but he's got the ceiling, and that's all we care about. The seal. He's going to be bursting through ceilings all the time this season. And so Khalil Herbert had 18 carries for 75 yards as the backup against a decent Raiders line. He'll take Chuba in PPR, but Khalil in half point.
See, Steve and I know. We're good.
Steve, what about no point? What about no point?
Who plays no point PPR?
One of my home leagues does.
Also known as standard.
Yeah, for those in the audience, no point PPR is what we call standard leagues because it's half point, it's full point. And there's no point. Anthony Craig, I have space for an RB. Moss versus Titans, D. Williams versus Washington football team. That would be Darrell Williams or Kareem Hunt versus the Cards.
Can we say it all at once? 1, 2, 3. Kareem Hunt.
It's Hunt 100%. There's no way you're sitting this guy.
Kareem Hunt's top 10 play without Chubb. Like the other two,
Williams. It doesn't change.
Williams
is a little bit all year.
Like if you're in a deeper league, I do like Darrell Williams with no CEH in the way. I don't think Jerick McKinnon will be a thing, but I mean, no Chubb, you gotta start Kareem Hunt. Like it's.
Yeah. You really buried the lead on this one.
Well done.
Moss versus Darrell Williams. I'd understand that question.
Yeah,
I'd go with Moss, but I'd understand the question. Yeah. Hunt though is like you have the golden egg just presented to you, and this was the lottery you were hoping for that Nick Chubb wouldn't play. Trade Kadarius Toney away. So sorry, this is from Aaron Cantu on YouTube. Trade Kadarius Toney away for Dawson Knox. Full PPR. Worth it?
Yes.
He has Chase, Moore, Woods, Myers, Bateman, Patrick, and Tony. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if you can do it, I would prefer to get rid of Patrick of those options. But yeah, Antonio will work out great.
No, I think he's selling high on Tony. I don't think
100%,
no one's
yeah.
buying high on Tim Patrick, but yeah.
Hey, he's been very consistent with Teddy under center.
Yeah, but he's good. Don't get me wrong, but you're not trading him for Dawson Knox. Yeah, this person clearly believes that Kadarius Toney is the wide receiver one in New York,
And he should.
He's. Anyways, Aaron, make that trade and get Dawson Knox on your team because he is one of the 6 or 7 tight ends you can trust right now.
Hey, Jack, remember the good old days when we could say that we had more receiving yards than Kadarius Toney?
Yeah, remember?
Can't say that anymore.
No, remember when I was hyping Terrace Marshall as better than Kadarius Toney and all the Giants fans started coming
And
at
Dwayne,
me?
yeah,
He is
I mean,
better
Dwayne
than
Eskridge
Dwayne.
is yeah, maybe. Like, I mean, you're right on that one, but Kadarius Toney.
So Steven Johnson, Metcalf, DJ Moore, and Hollywood Brown. Should I put Emmanuel Sanders versus Josh Allen or keep chasing the targets?
No, I would definitely play one of those guys over Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Would
just
play
because
all
he'll
of
get
them over him. That's just it.
Metcalf scares me with Geno Smith because I don't know what that's going to look like.
And he's probably going to get the tougher coverage because that's normally how it goes.
We don't know what it's going to look like, but he did get a touchdown pass from Geno Smith.
That is true.
I do think this team becomes significantly less efficient, so there's going to be more targets. So that's a plus side of having DK. I do think more of the target's still going to block it because he's not going to get the tougher coverage. But
what do we think of DJ Moore, though?
This week, I think he's still the guy. I'm nervous for his target share just because CMC's not there. So they're kind of able to focus on him a little more, but he's still getting the targets, and he can produce with limited. Anytime he can catch something, if he can catch it, he's going to get yards that are worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, DJ Moore is not sittable, in my opinion. Like, you have to play him every week. Patrick Peterson hasn't been good this year at all. We saw Quintez Cephas, he stiff-armed him and ran for a 20-yarder, broke his collarbone, and then now he's out for the Detroit Lions, which means you should roster Amon-Ra St. Brown. If he's still available, go get Amon-Ra St. Brown immediately.
He was. This morning, or just a couple hours when I looked, he was still 18% rostered in ESPN leagues. So he's still a lot out there.
Standard is not standard anymore. # no point. Michael Grossman on YouTube wants to know Latavius Murray, Ramondre Stevenson, or Kenyon Drake.
Ooh. Man, I wish I knew what was going on in Las Vegas right now.
0.5 PPR.
I go Latavius Murray. The Chargers aren't great against the run. I think Latavius is the de facto lead back so far. Stevenson, I don't trust that backfield at all. And Drake, I mean, what is Drake's role? Like, what does he do there? And I just don't like Vegas in general. I think that their season's tanked.
Drake's not even the pass catcher anymore. Like, Josh Jacobs, 5 targets in back-to-back games.
But he's also sick right now. That's the only reason I think he's asking this question.
He's cleared off the injury report once again. Yeah. So as is Peyton Barber. No issues with the Terpso. So yeah,
I go Latavius.
Yeah, Latavius pretty easily for me. Ramondre Stevenson,
that's where I'm having
intriguing, but I don't trust him enough.
I think I would.
Especially because Damian Harris fumbled against the Texans. So, Belichick, Ramondre Stevenson knows better than anyone else what Belichick does to fumblers. We see him fumble and he gets benched for 2 games and then he gets 11 carries against the Texans and he's running scared because he doesn't want to fumble and get benched again.
Well, why doesn't Bill Belichick bench himself for fumbling N'Keal Harry? And that draft pick.
Oh. That's weird.
Yeah.
That's just so wrong.
Have you seen the receivers that went after him? That's all I got to say.
Have you seen the receiver that went before him? There was one. It was Hollywood Brown, who looks like a star. But also note of Jerick McKinnon.
No.
Ooh, yes.
No.
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's Jerick McKinnon.
What does that mean?
Just like I said last week. Okay, or was it just in the Discord? It might have just been in the Discord. But Steve brought it up. It was 18 carries, and 10 carries with McKinnon, and CH splitting them, and then or snaps, and then Williams was the one at the back end. So in the game script, McKinnon actually had the touches already. I'm excited to see him, and of these options, that's who I'm going with.
See, the thing that gets me here is it's going to be a committee with McKinnon and Williams, and so neither of them are going to be a full workload. And then, like the complaint we all have with Clyde Edwards-Helaire is he doesn't catch passes. That's why he's not a top running back, because he doesn't get the receptions. So why are we playing the backups hoping that they're going to get receptions and that's what they're going to do? Because Mahomes doesn't dump it off.
I need the Chiefs to trade for Marlon Mack now and solve all our issues.
Not happening. They are going to pay up for it. It's just no way.
Michael Grossman would also like to know, would you trade away Kyler and D-Hop for Hunt, Lamb, and Ertz?
No way. Nope.
Yeah.
No,
it really depends on your team makeup.
You're not getting nearly the value back. Hunt with Chubb's back is a backup essentially. Ertz, like I said, you don't know what Ertz is going to be. You don't know what Ertz is going to be. Lamb, yeah, Lamb's great, but I still like D-Hop over Lamb. So you're downgrading all across the board. I would not make that trade.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we had Kyler Murray as our number one quarterback for the important nonsense as a site. Yeah, so that's my big issue with it.
And so for myself and my amusement, Frodo.
Good luck.
That is. Let me just say that's Matt Mercier.
Oh, I know it is. Frodo Dodo, aka Matt Mercier. For myself and my amusement, start 2 out of 3. Best name.
He asked us in the Discord.
Terrace Marshall.
I'm gonna tell him the exact same answer. You're gonna play Rashad Bateman, who used to be my Rashad Bateman, who I traded to him a few days prior. We have to, and
yeah, say it.
I don't know the second one. I would probably go Terrace Marshall. I don't feel great about it, but maybe DeAndre Carter. I would see what happens with Terry McLaurin, because DeAndre Carter could be relevant if McLaurin's out. But I mean, that's
Samuel's out. So, and DeAndre is still dealing with his issues. So it has to be Carter for me.
No, I'm playing Bateman and Terrace Marshall. I'm playing my guys.
No way.
The Lamar Bateman stack, baby. All right, so if you have any more questions, feel free to keep sending them our way. But in the meantime, we will get back to some of the news. We already talked about quite a bit of this, I suppose.
Yeah, we talked about Chris. We talked about Chubb.
Yeah.
So we're moving into Swift. Shocker.
Yeah. DeAndre Swift.
Now we got no DeAndre Swift questions. That's true.
Amazing.
Yeah. DeAndre Swift listed as questionable. That's going to happen every single week of the season. It's just the Lions take care of their guys. They protect them. They don't make them practice too hard. And he might have his left tackle back this week, so that just adds a little extra spice to the DeAndre Swift start.
So you know that we always have these like challenges, like the milk crate challenge, the ice bucket challenge. You know what the new challenge that the Detroit Lions need to start doing? The stop listing DeAndre Swift as questionable challenge. I get you're limiting him in practice, but stop making him questionable. We all know it's a farce. You're going to play him, and he's going to give us 20 PPR points.
They're just following the NFL rules.
No, I don't care. It makes me angry.
Aaron Cantu would like to know, Pat Freiermuth, him starting and Ben saying he wants to get him more involved, just hype for a bad offense?
Let's go! No, because he needs that short area target. That Ebron can't catch, so it has to be Freiermuth. Got to let him move.
You mean dropped him as prime?
So we're fighting between Pat Freiermuth and Dawson Knox. This is why you make the trade for Dawson Knox.
Yeah.
Because, Pat Freiermuth, we have to remember he's a rookie tight end. Rookie tight ends aren't particularly good historically. And,
I think that Freiermuth can, towards the end of the season, get going. There's no juju.
He's got some upside to score some touchdowns. But
again, don't put him in your lineup thinking that he's going to get you 7 catches this week.
Yeah, there's never going to be a situation where I'm comfortable starting Pat Freiermuth. is where I'm at.
Hey, I'm pretty sure I told people to start him 1 week, and he did just fine.
Boy, he had like 4 catches for like 45. I guess that's good for
And
tight end.
touchdown.
That's good for tight end. Did he have a touchdown? I don't remember.
Okay, he went 4 for 4 for 36, 3 for 5 for 22 and a touchdown. He's missed 2 passes all year. He's dropped 2 passes out of his, 5, 10, 13 targets.
Oh, wow.
All right, Jason, you keep telling the people to play Pat Freiermuth.
Freiermuth.
Or Donald Parham, either or.
Yeah.
Yes.
And enjoy and good luck. Antonio Gibson, questionable. Shin, good to go. Don't worry about him. Melvin Gordon, kind of same thing, questionable with a hip injury. But again, he's played through it in the past. How about Ertz going to Arizona? Good or bad?
Have we talked about Ertz yet?
Facebook.
Have we talked about Ertz yet?
We did.
I feel like we might have touched on it earlier.
We did when we got the question about Zach Ertz, and we talked about him getting traded. But
are you sure? I don't remember that.
Somebody has dementia.
So, anyways, Zach Ertz, it's a good thing for all involved. Like
Especially
Dallas Goedert, it's going to means he's going to get more targets. He's going to be more involved in the offense, and it's good for Zach Ertz because he has to. It's okay. Don't need to.
It's all good. I was just messing. I just went on a rant about it. Several. You know what? The only person it's gonna hurt is Rondale Moore. It's gonna hurt him. But
no,
yeah,
that's the answer.
AJ Green.
They don't play the same position.
Yes, they do. They play the exact same position.
No, AJ Green plays exclusively.
Decrepit old man. That's exactly the position he plays.
They're gonna both be on the field though. AJ Green lines up exclusively at right wide receiver, and Zach Ertz is gonna be like a tight end slot flex kind of guy, and that directly impacts Rondale Moore
Or Christian Kirk.
Yes, but also
Kirk becomes invisible. Okay, that makes sense.
Christian Kirk is also starting over Rondale Moore though. For now, Roberto Rangel from YouTube would like to know Chuba Hubbard or Darrell Williams, and it is PPR. He did clarify that. Either way, I don't care if it's
Hubbard.
PPR. I don't care if it's half point PPR. I don't care if it's no point PPR. Start the Canadian. Let's go, Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, I mean, you take the volume there for sure. Yep. It's hard because Williams is going to be splitting, and you saw what CEH did. It's just one of those things that you can't. I just can't trust it.
Also, Jason thinks that Jerick McKinnon is going to own that backfield. So, I mean.
And that's also true. So, yeah.
If you were asked Chuba or Jerick McKinnon, what would you say?
It's still volume. I mean, that's why.
I honestly was scared for
I like Jason. I enjoy working with you, but I was worried I was going to have to cancel you.
Oh, I'm the madman on the show for sure.
Roberto agrees. Nice. Fire. I agree. Very nice indeed. Speaking of the Cardinals, Chase Edmonds, he's limited this week with the shoulder injury, officially questionable. But even last week when he was questionable, he was only out-touched 11-9 by James Conner. So the moral of the story, you can't trust James Conner.
Yeah, and the fact that Rondale Moore is being used as a running back, he's been getting carries, which is impressive and I really enjoy. But this game just makes me so nervous because everybody's not feeling well. And so I feel like it's going to be a trap game that I don't want to really play anybody.
And so Connor Reed from YouTube would like to know, pick 2 PPR, Latavius Murray, Myles Gaskin, Zach Moss, or James Conner. And so James Conner, we're sitting him, and everyone else you can talk.
It's Gaskin and Moss for me because they should get majority of the work and have looked awesome. While I do think Murray has a chance, I don't think that he's going to get used enough to care. It's still Jackson's backfield.
Right. He's RB1, right?
Absolutely.
Gaskin for me, like, oh my god. Well, I'm starting Gaskin in many leagues this week, and I don't like it. But of those 3, because we're not including Connor, I'm still leaning towards Murray. I think Murray is the RB1 in that backfield.
Over Moss.
Over Moss. Yeah, Moss for me. I just think that I'm gonna look at the snap discrepancy because Oh wow! Oh my God! Oh, he like outsnapped Singletary completely. I mean, it didn't really show up on the score sheet because, like, I guess Moss is a better third down back, but I still probably lead Murray, but I think you're fine. Any combination of those three, I think you're okay.
I'm going Moss and Gaskin. I think that it's finally happened. I think Zach Moss has finally taken over this backfield. And I think Myles Gaskin, Tua liked Gaskin even more than Jacoby Brissett did, and Jacoby Brissett threw him 10 targets last week.
So. I think that was desperation too. Like
to survive.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that I think that Tua likes him even more, so he's going to get even more.
I just hope the coaches like Gaskin more. That's where the issue comes in. I don't trust the coaching staff there.
What's your take on Joe Buck explaining to Troy Aikman how math works? I think it's great content. What are your thoughts?
So I had to watch this game on mute because I was working last night, so I actually didn't catch this. But I heard about it and I heard it was hilarious, so I'm going to have to defer to you guys.
Troy Aikman is... have you ever seen The Simpsons? Or are you too young for that, Jordan?
Too young? I'm older than you. I didn't even know honestly, I don't even know how old Jason is. Jason, you could tell me
oldest, bro. I'm the oldest.
24 or 40, and I would believe you.
Yeah. No, anyways.
Anyways, go on.
So have you ever seen The Simpsons? Old man yells at Cloud,
yes,
Grandpa
yes,
Simpson.
I've seen that.
That's Troy Aikman. That's just who he is.
So what happened? Like, what was the context? Like what kind of math was it? Like going for 2 math, or was it like?
Yeah, it was going for 2 math. It was like, so Troy Aikman didn't like them going for it when they're down 14 points. The Eagles went for 2 with the idea you go for 2 now, and if you get it, you can win the game by going for 2 later, especially as the underdog. And if you don't get it, then you still just need to go for 2, get it once. And Troy Aikman didn't like that, and Joe Buck tried to explain the math, and Troy's basically just, I don't like it. I don't like it. I know that's what the math says, but the 28.
Yeah, it was that.
Yeah.
It screwed me over because I had, like I said, that screwed me over with my against the spread pick. So I think I'm on Aikman's side now.
And Michael Grossman, I just traded away Andrews for AB, Mark Andrews for Antonio Brown. That was a good decision, I think. Antonio Brown is the wide receiver 1 in Tampa.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Troy Aikman. Oh boy, I don't like this. That was the context. I need to grab either Njoku, Dan Arnold, Tonyan, Engram, Komet, or Mo Alley Cox. Credit nickname to the nerd for Mac.
I love
rest
the Mac
season. Are you taking?
Not rest of season. It's Arnold rest of season, but I do like Mac just because he's that big body dude, and Jordan absolutely hates me because he's a Colts fan.
No, I don't hate it. I just, like I said, he had 2 touchdowns, and everyone's thinking to the moon. And he had like 2 catches against the Ravens, if that.
I think he had 3.
You know what? I feel like people like troll me because I just pooped all over Tonyan, and now I'm thinking that's probably the best bet. No, I'm serious. Arnold, for me, possibly, I think that now that he's learning Jacksonville's offense, could actually be the best of that bunch. So rest of the season, maybe Arnold, but I mean, Tonyan has a connection with Rodgers already.
I think it is honestly Dan Arnold because Urban Meyer seems to love him as much as he loves co-eds, and so he
there it is.
He is targeting Dan. He's like, Dan Arnold is getting plays drawn up for him, and so like Urban Meyer just loves him that much. I think Dan Arnold I'm surprised I'm saying this. Tonyan makes more logical sense, but nothing is logical down in Jacksonville. Urban Meyer.
What is that? What is
It is in
there's an emoji.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is actually. I think
it's somebody's laughing.
Tight end question. Get that hat. Pull a name. Good luck.
You know what? I'll pull it out. Oh, Mo Alley Cox.
Yes.
I'll agree. However, remove Evan Engram and Cole Kmet from the hat. They
3
don't,
for
they don't
50 last week. Just remember that.
from
That's 8
Komet.
points. No.
Engram.
No, Allie Cox.
Oh, I know. Yeah, and I'm fine him staying in the hat, but get Evan Engram and get Cole Kmet out of the hat. They're not in this conversation. Probably not in Njoku either.
You know who had a better week than Mole Cox last week? Kylan Granson.
Did he have one catch?
I think he had a better stat line, if I remember. I'm gonna look this up.
Oh, jeez.
It's not by
Don't
much.
deep
Like,
dive
it's
on-
it's
don't
probably
deep
one
dive here.
catch and 10 yards. I'm looking this up right now.
Allie Cox went 3 for 50 last week. Just remember that.
3 for 50. It didn't feel like that.
I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah.
To be fair, I was doing a fantasy hockey draft during this game, so it just made everything worse.
So you're just making erroneous claims out here about Mo Alley Cox and Kylan Granson.
That's my shtick now. I come on here and I just
Hey,
You come on to
hate
our
is real.
show and lie to the world.
Oh, I
The
didn't go
hate
through.
in action is real.
Oh, I was
and don't
totally wrong.
understand it.
Yeah, so sorry. I was completely wrong. I just okay, whatever.
All right. And so, are we worried about Mike Williams this week? I started Godwin, so I need a boom from Ryan versus Robots over on Twitch.
Well, you shouldn't have started Godwin, but yes, Mike Williams will be fine. I'm not worried about it.
You're not worried about the injury.
No, not yet. I mean, I'm not worried about him. I think it's just one of those things that he's been getting a lot of use, so he's taking a rest day, and the fact that he's old helps.
Start your studs, and I didn't think that it would be you start Mike Williams no matter what. But here we are. 2021 is a weird time to be alive. Next year, they should add refs and penalty yards. Jason.
Yes, my favorite thing. It drives me insane. I don't understand why we do not get points for pass interference calls that benefit both the team because they are moving up the yardage already. That should be added to the wide receiver as well as the quarterback. What is going on?
Steve makes a compelling point that in a world where Kadarius Toney is startable because of injuries, Evan Engram belongs in the hat. That is compelling. So final note we'll go out on because we've run a little bit long here and feel last 2 minutes to finally get your questions in before we wrap this up. But we do have to talk about the kicker news. Rodrigo Blankenship is out. Michael Badgley likely promoted from the practice squad.
I will say I love the Money Badger. I loved him with the Chargers until he fell off a cliff. So Money Badger season, let's go. Doesn't matter because the Colts season's done.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't done my rant. Season's over. I flailed on that last week. Season's over. You can't embarrass yourself that badly on a primetime game and expect to compete. Season's done. I'm not coming back on here and flip-flopping. Season's done.
They looked really good in the first
No, they're
half.
done. They're done. They're done. You can't convince me otherwise now. I am putting the line and saying they are done.
But Wentz and Pittman
I
are
don't
great
care.
going forward in fantasy.
They're done.
Cameron Brate was in that conversation for adding to, not Cameron Brate. We just saw last night
Gronk
relegated.
told me back, so-
OJ Howard had a better
Is OJ Howard in the conversation?
No, and Gronk.
No.
Yeah,
No.
that's the thing. I really like OJ Howard back in 2019, man. I believed so heavily in him, and it just hurt.
It's like him and like Njoku, like first round tight ends that you're like so excited about, and just both have just like fizzled out. And I don't know if that's a product of their situation, but it's pretty sad to see.
At least the Colts have a top 10 pick.
If they bench Wentz now, they will have it, so it's okay. and you know what? Wentz actually played pretty well. Like I don't want to put it's not on Wentz.
I think he had 400 yards, right?
You bench him. He had over 400 yards. You bench him. 50 that went to Mole Cox. I apologize again for that. Yeah, you bench him, and then you could have a top 5 pick, and then you can draft Malik Willis, even though I think he's probably going to go to Detroit. But
All right. Well, on that note, we are going to sign off here. So thank you all for tuning in to the Friday Night Insights live stream and podcast. Make sure you use promo code NONSENSE when you sign up on Underdog Fantasy, and make sure you check out Important Nonsense all over everywhere. It's on Facebook, Important Nonsense. It's on YouTube, Important Nonsense. It's Twitter at NonsenseFF. It's on Twitch at NonsenseFF. And it's on the Fantasy Life app at NonsenseFF. And
Or for $1 a month if you're on Discord.
Yes,
you can also join us. And
Only
all the
$1.
conversations we have. $1 a month. That's all it costs, guys.
You can see all of Jason's TikToks he shares.
So yes, check out the
Can't help
Patreon.
myself.
I can't remember. Is Patreon nonsense FF or important nonsense? God, I am.
I think it's important nonsense. If you go to the website, it'll lead you there. If you go to importantnonsense.com,
Yeah.
I am
at the
so
bottom of the page, there's a Patreon link for you.
good. Glad we have Jason and Jordan here because I am the worst host in the world.
When it comes to words today, you've been struggling. It's been a long day. It's okay.
And on that note, thank you all for joining us. We will see you next time.